Hello, everyone. My name is Mary Esther May Irvin, Vice Mayor of the great city of North Miami and District 3 Representative. I want to thank you all for tuning in for today's public service announcement. As we come together to talk about a very important issue that is near and dear to my heart, human trafficking. According to Homeland Security, human trafficking involved the use of force, fraud, and coercion to obtain some types of labor or commercial sex act. In 2020, 2,198 people were referred to human trafficking offense. That's 62% increase from the 1,360 people back in 2011. Every year, millions of men, women, and children are trafficked worldwide, including right here in the city of North Miami. It can happen in any community, and victims can be of any age, race, gender, or nationality. January 11 is National Human Trafficking Awareness Day. This day holds significant importance as we unite to shed light on the pervasive issues of human trafficking. Today serves as a stark reminder of the urgency to raise awareness, advocate for survivors, and to collectively work together towards eradicating this heinous violation of human rights. Even though you may not have been affected by human trafficking personally, you may know someone who knows someone. And this is why we need to have these conversations, not just today, but every day. As we dwell into the statistics and facts surrounding human trafficking, it becomes evident that the numbers are not just figures on a page. They represent lives, hope, and future cruelly affected by this illicit trade. Please be sure to share this video. It is our responsibility to confront this issue head on and strive for a world where every individual is free from the chain of exploitation. The way in which we can raise awareness and engage in this fight are numerous, from educating ourselves through workshop and training sessions to supporting anti-trafficking organizations like Global Initiative Foundation and advocating for policy change. Each of us have a role to play, even myself. The power to affect change lies within our action, both individual and as a community. As we observe National Human Trafficking Awareness Day, let us be inspired by the history that brought us to this moment. The designation of this day coincides with an enactment of Trafficking Victim Protection Act of 2000, a pivotal piece of legislation in the United States aimed at preventing and combating human trafficking. I encourage all of you to participate in the online conversation surrounding this crucial day by using the following hashtag. Hashtag Human Trafficking Awareness, hashtag End Human Trafficking, hashtag Human Rights, hashtag Not For Sale, and hashtag Survivor Support. Please share this video with at least 5 people you love and challenge them to do the same. And now, a message from our state attorney, Catherine Fernandez Rundle.
Hello, everyone. January is Human Trafficking Awareness Month. And as your state attorney, I have seen the devastating effects that human trafficking has on the young, vulnerable victims who are trapped in this modern-day slavery. That is why combating human trafficking is a top priority for me and for my office. Our dedicated human trafficking unit and our human trafficking task force are focused on rescuing victims and making sure that the pimps, the johns, and those that enable human trafficking are put behind bars and out of business. We have made huge strides, but there is so much more to do. We can't do it alone. We need your eyes and we need your ears in the community. If you see or you suspect human trafficking is taking place, please call our human trafficking hotline at 305-FIX-STOP, or you can scan our QR code. For more information, you can also visit our website, Thank you so much, and God bless.
It can happen to anyone at any time, at any point. And it doesn't stop you from being who you are. You can still go through a really tough situation, and you can go through a life-changing situation and still come out on top. You can still come out with designing a life that you love, being successful, and having a future after that. My name is Anel De Castro. I'm the incoming chairwoman of the board for Global Innovative Foundation. The term is 2024 to 2026. So I'm very excited about that. So some of the things that I've been through in my life is I was kidnapped when I was 5 years old. And I remember every detail of that instance. And recapping that, actually sitting in the kitchen table with my mother, I had never talked about it. And as a child, I was a very angry child. And as I opened up to my mom about it, when I was about 34, it was to the point where I wanted her to confirm certain things for me. Like I wanted to know, like, did I make that up? Was it a dream? Was it a bad dream? Or did it actually happen? And as I went through the story with her, she's like, yeah, that's where we lived. Yes, that person worked for us. Yes. And she kept confirming things. And I'm like, so it really did happen. And I was angry at my parents for something they didn't even know happened. So I lived in the Dominican Republic until I was about 8 years old. So when I was around 5, the nanny that used to take care of me and pick me up from school, who was never late, one day was late. And it struck me, even as a 5-year-old child, as weird. Like, all my friends are gone and I'm still here. What's happening? And she eventually shows up, and instead of walking around, so my school was across from a cemetery. And instead of walking around like we normally do, because there were like street vendors and I would get my favorite candy and, you know, we would talk about what I learned in school that day, was very flustered with me, was yelling at me and being very rough with me physically. And instead of walking around the cemetery, she walked me through the cemetery. And as a kid, that's really scary. So I just remember being really scared and not knowing what was happening. When we cross the cemetery, there's a rusty red car, and she shoves me in the back of the red car. And there's a man and like an older gentleman. I remember him with white hair, speaking a language I didn't understand. And they drive off, and, you know, I'm little, so I can't even see over the edge of the car. So I don't know where we're going. And I don't know how much time passed, but after a certain amount of time, they stop and we get to wherever it was that they were going to take me. And I remember getting out of the car, and it was like this wooden house, like that you would see out in the country. And the paint was peeling off, and it just looked really like abandoned and disheveled and scary. And, you know, walking in, there was no floor, except from what I remember, it was like, almost like the 4 walls were there, but there was really nothing there other than like a kitchen. Everything else was just open space. And, I remember there was a dirt floor, and like a small mattress in front of a TV with a table. And so they put me on the mattress and they give me something to drink. And I can even still taste the metallic taste of the cup, every time I talk about it. And I don't know what it was, but obviously they drugged me because I would black out. And so that happened about 5 times. And I don't know, as a kid, I'm like, I didn't understand. I was crying, of course, scared, crying, calling out for my mom, calling out for my dad. And I just remember drinking from the cup and looking up and seeing the cartoons that were playing on the TV, and then eventually crying and blacking out. And then at some whatever point of time coming to crying, looking around. I'm still in the same place. And they would, physically rough me up, give me more to drink. And then I would buy. So that happened, from what I can remember, at least 3 or 4 times, maybe 5 times. And the last time, I wake up and I'm in my bed in my house, and I'm no longer in my school uniform. I'm in my PJs and I'm in my house. And I just, I couldn't wrap my mind around that, And so I remember getting up from my bed and walking around my house, and it was already dark, so everyone was sleeping. And I go back to bed, scared and crying, and I can't make sense of it. So when I'm retelling the story to my mother years later, and I'm telling her all of that, she immediately was like, that makes so much sense, because you were such a sweet child, always very well mannered. I could leave you in a place with a toy, and I'd come back an hour later and you're still there. And almost from the morning to night, you changed. Even as a child, I could tell something happened and you had changed, and you wouldn't talk to me. You wouldn't talk. There was a period that I didn't talk. And you were just angry. You were just, they call me la viejita, the little old lady, because I was always bickering and fighting because I was a little angry child. And that continued until my adulthood. And they could not piece one thing from the other. And so my mother got her daughter back at 34. I was so deeply affected. I had no idea. And so those are the things that they happen to you and you don't know. As a kid, you can't make heads or tails of it. And you go through life thinking, I'm alone. I'm not wanted. I'm not protected. My parents don't care. My family doesn't care. And you alienate yourself. You may be in a room full of your family and you alienate yourself. You alienate yourself in relationships. I was numb. I can look back to every romantic relationship. I met my ex-husband when I was 19. I got divorced when I was about 29. And any relationship that I had before that, I was numb to love. I was numb to affection. And I had no idea why. And it wasn't until a year and a half later, after my divorce, that it all came together. So you asked me about stigma. Therapy has a huge stigma about, there must be something wrong with me. Whatever the stigma is, it changes from cultural environment to cultural environment. We all go through things when we're young, and they have a completely different effect on everyone. No one person's experience is the same. But the other day, I was at a dinner where these incredible, powerful women were sharing their story or snippets of their story. And in a room full of 20 people, we all had a story. We all go through things in life. We're all survivors of things. One experience differs from the other, but it doesn't make them any less traumatic. It doesn't make them any less impactful in how you behave with yourself and with others and in your relationships, whether they're familial or romantic. And so therapy works. Therapy is amazing. And it helps people navigate the gray areas that we can't piece together ourselves. There are a lot of things that have happened, stories, especially with the work that we do at Global Innovative Foundation, the stories that I've heard from survivors of human trafficking or survivors from, other areas of abuse, that they're like, oh, I don't know why this happened to me. And then we get into the story and I'm like, well, when you were a child, XYZ happened. It's all rooted in childhood. You know, we're little sponges walking around on legs. And whether it's something that happened to us physically, or something someone said, or something someone didn't say, it all affects us in how we behave and how we absorb how the world is treating us around us. You know, whether it's a brother, an uncle, a mom, a sister, a brother, it's all tied together. It all affects us. And then we carry that into adulthood. And then we don't know why we are the way we are. And so therapy is one of those places where, whether you want to call it counseling, mentorship, it all works. But therapy from a licensed therapist or a psychologist is something that I can't stress enough, especially for people who know that they have been in a traumatic situation, who know that they're being rescued out of a human trafficking situation or an abusive partnership. Or, you know, listen, we live in Miami, and as beautiful as it is, it has the other dark side of the coin. We need to educate people that, you know, yes, you can get shoved into a car or into a van off the street, but that's not how it's happening. It's usually children are groomed, usually by an adult they know. Mom, dad, brother, sister, boyfriend, some sort of relative, some sort of friend. Those are the most horrific instances, but that's the majority of human trafficking happens. Someone related to that child or that young adult. And so it's understanding what it looks like. It doesn't necessarily mean that someone's locked in a basement. You know, it could be someone asking for lewd photos of a minor. And they think it's exciting because an older person thinks that I'm hot or sexy or they're interested in me. And that's the point. They groom the child to think that there's nothing wrong with that, or that they're being more mature. You know, the allure of being older. I mean, I remember being 12, dying to be 18, and the allure of that. As an adult, I can look back and I'm like, wow, I was being groomed. And so it's educating the public, understanding that I'm gonna throw out a couple stats at you. Every 8 seconds in the United States, a child goes missing. Those are staggering numbers. We're talking about 480 children in a minute. 10,000 children a day are being exploited. That's insane. And it's not in some far off country. It's in our backyard. The largest consumer of child sexual abuse material is the average American white male. It's happening in our backyard. And people have no idea. 800,000 children go missing in the United States every year. Not since the 50s, no, every year. Where's the outrage? Where are the riots? Where are the burning buildings? Where are the protests? People don't know. They have no idea. And so making the public aware of the crazy staggering numbers and the statistics and the fact that it's not even some far off country, some island somewhere. No, it's right here. You can, in the high rises in Miami, it's usually more than 200 units. Count them out. 2 out of every 10. Something's happening in 2 out of every 10 residences in Miami. That should blow everybody's mind. That should shake everyone to the core to do something and to protect our children. They're not for sale. You know, whether it's producing a video, a photo, grooming them, actually abusing them, anything that a child does that is against their will, anything that a minor under 18 does that is sexually explicit, is abuse. It doesn't mean that you hit them. It means that you're abusing them sexually. So there's a big education component that I think is missing. that Global Innovative Foundation is that's our aim, is to make the public aware of not just the heinous crimes, but also what to look out for. You know, a child that was once beautiful and bright and you know, their energy would light up a room, who's now shy, reserved, doesn't talk, is being controlled, is being manipulated. There's a lot of different signs, and that's not just for children, it's for grown adults too. So it can look in so many different ways. Now the new thing is at a club, a guy or a girl will befriend the opposite sex. The girl will befriend a girl, or the guy will befriend a girl, and pretend either to be a friend, or the guy will pretend to court her. And then he'll love bomb her by giving her lavish gifts and taking her out and paying her rent or paying a bill or offering to just lavish her, right? Probably something really outside of her comfort zone. And at one point, he'll ask her to do something. And it usually involves either her sleeping with someone else, her taking a video or photo of herself doing something sexually explicit, and it's the emotional manipulation. Well, I've done all these things for you. Come on, just one time. Do it for me. Don't you love me? So a lot of different manipulating tactics to get the woman to concede to do these things, because he's done all these things for me. Okay, maybe I can do that one time. So there's a lot of different ways that traffickers are little different tactics that they're using to lure people in. And I say people because it's not just women. You know, young boys are being exploited. You know, and when I say young boys, young adult men are also being exploited. So this has no gender, and the age range is as young as months. We have had reports of babies that are months old, and I get really emotional because it's really horrific. It's really the stories that we hear doing this work. You know, I think about, you know, I don't have children yet. And I do the work I do because I want to be able to look at them in the face when they ask me, Mommy, what did you do? I want to be able to tell them that I did something. Because it's just absolutely horrific. When we look back at this time in history, I want them to know that there was a group of people who really did care. A group of people who did something about it.
So this is what I would say about human trafficking. I'm very blunt about it. It's not a January issue. It's not a third world country issue. I think many people believe that we're only dealing with human trafficking and the modern day slavery in third world countries. My name is Dr. Shanika Ampa. I am a nurse, mom, wife. I'm the CEO and founder of Guiding Light Outreach, Inc., and our focus is supporting those who have survived human trafficking and preventing it. That's my goal. As a kid, I was trafficked right here in Dade County from the age of 11 to 18 years old. And it's not because, you know, there's stigmas that, oh, you were fast or you were the girl who wanted it, but there's no way to tell a kid that they wanted to be sold for sex. I think that in our communities, if we just open our eyes and become take away the sensitization. Can I say that again? We've been so desensitized to the matters. We may have made it our norm. But it's here in our community. It's not just the Epstein cases. It's not just the R. Kelly cases. It's within our homes issues. It's within our churches. It's right here within our very own communities. And that's what I want people to understand. As a kid, I was on all the honor roll classes. I was in honor classes. I had both of my parents at home, but those family secrets that we continue to hide and sweep under the rug, those are the things that make you more vulnerable to human trafficking. one of my goals with my organization is to decrease the vulnerabilities. When you have so many vulnerabilities, the lack of support, the lack of love, being hungry, a child who's running away from their biggest fear of being sexually abused within the house, you open yourself up to so many more vulnerabilities, and there's always people waiting to take a advantage of those situations. So for me, I am a survivor now, but as I also work for DCF, and as a case manager and life coach there, we have to this day still so many children, not just foster care children, community children who's being victimized when it comes to human trafficking. And so I want people to know that we have so many immigrants in our community. We have so many vulnerable populations, people with mental health issues, people who doesn't even have food to eat, that those vulnerabilities are making them prey for traffickers. I think our culture, our subcultures have allowed this pimp mentality. You know, when I think about the younger population, the culture of being sexualized allows people to be okay with buying sex. You know, those are the things in our community. We have a voice, and if we stick together, we can make the change. We just need to know how. We just need to know what we see isn't normal. There's no way that it's normal. We have a lot of work to do as a community, but it starts with these type of awareness campaigns. If you can look inside and be accountable for our children, if we just only focus on our children first, because there's a lot of humans overall, adults and children. But if we focus on our children, each one of us be focused on how could we do something in the sense of, don't overlook that kid that you saw walking down the street. Don't judge them. For me, it was the labels. You know, she's fast. No, she's not fast. She's just needing someone to ask what happened to her. You know, don't take away the judgments. I would say to anyone that feel that they're being exploited sexually or by work, because we don't talk enough about the human trafficking part of labor trafficking, where people are being forced into slavery, underpaid. Yes, it's still happening in our communities. I would say if you ever hear this message that there is help, we have done enough work that your local police department could assist you. Don't be afraid. Many people don't know what trafficking looks like, even when they're in the situation. Just know that if you feel that you have no control and power within yourself and someone else is over you in all forms, there's help. We're here to help. I will continue to speak until you hear my voice, to know that you're not alone and we're here to help. I think the government has made a positive change. These situations, when I was being trafficked, I'd never heard of human trafficking, not at my church, not at the local parks. And I think those are places where our children are, that we could continue to raise the awareness. The awareness campaign goes from January to December. It's year-round, 365 days. And so for every governmental official to let their community know that we're building safe communities where exploitation is not acceptable. Make every city a blue city, and cause a campaign that says we're turning on the lights when it comes to human trafficking, that you cannot live in the darkness. And so that for this city has already began, and I'm grateful for that work.
Hello, my name is Major Horn with the North Miami Police Department. I am currently the section major of the investigative section. I proudly joined the North Miami Police Department in 2008, where I served as a uniform patrol officer. In 2013, I joined the general investigator section, where I was a general investigator detective. In 2016, I was promoted to the rank of sergeant and assigned to uniform patrol. In 2019, I was promoted to the rank of commander and assigned to an investigative section, overseeing our general investigating unit, our crime suppression unit, our crime scene unit, our crime analyst, and our victims advocate. In 2022, I was promoted to the rank of major and assigned to the administrative section. Recently, I have been reassigned back to the investigative section to lead our team of awesome investigators. We at the North Miami Police Department would like you to know that January is National Human Trafficking Prevention Month, and we wanted to share some information with you about human trafficking. Exactly, what is human trafficking? Legislature finds that human trafficking is a form of modern-day slavery. Victims of human trafficking are young children, teenagers, and adults. Victims of human trafficking are subject to force, fraud, coercion for the purpose of sexual exploitation or forced labor. Many victims of human trafficking are forced to work in the prostitution industry or sexual entertainment industry. Trafficking can also occur in the form of labor exploitation, such as domestic servitude, restaurant work, janitorial work, sweatshop factory work, and migrant agricultural work. Thousands of persons are victims of trafficking annually across international borders worldwide. Victims of human trafficking also include citizens of the United States. Many persons are trafficked domestically within the borders of the United States. Human traffickers often prey upon members of impoverished communities, those who lack stable housing, and those with limited economic and educational opportunities. Other vulnerable individuals include children in the child welfare system, children who have been involved in the juvenile justice system, runaways, homeless youth, unoccupied children, persons who do not have lawful immigration status in the U.S., and persons with limited English proficiency. Traffickers come in many forms. They can be U.S. citizens, foreign nationals, family members, partners, acquaintances, or strangers. They can act alone or be a part of an organized criminal enterprise. Traffickers use various techniques to instill fear in their victims and keep them enslaved. Traffickers often isolate their victims from the public and from their family members. They often confiscate passports, visas, and other identification documents. They use force or threaten force and violence towards victims and their families. They tell victims that they will be in prison or deported for immigration violations if they contact the authorities. They also control the victims' funds by holding their money for safekeeping. Here are some human trafficking statistics. Half of the sex victims in the United States are under the age of 17 years old. Florida ranks number 3 in the nation for human trafficking. Miami-Dade County ranks number 1 in the state of Florida. In Florida, 40% of victims are minors. 96% of those victims are females. In Florida, 60% of the adults between the age of 16 and 23, 92% of those victims are females. For adults, there must be a showing that an adult is being coerced or engaging in criminal sexual activity or labor services. What qualifies as coercion, physical force, isolation, confinement, destruction or withholding of immigration documents, financial harm, and drugging are just some examples. For minors under the age of 18, no force, no fraud, no coercion is required. A minor cannot consent to being trafficked. How can you help end human trafficking? By knowing the signs, everyone has the ability to uncover and help prevent human trafficking. The following red flags may be indicators that a person is being commercially, sexually exploited. They live with their employer. There's signs of physical abuse. They have a boyfriend who's controlling. Branding, often in the form of tattoos, are a way pimps and boyfriends show ownership of their victims. Tattoos are often those of names, nicknames, or logos. Victims have newer or unexplained jewelry. They have controlled communications. Victims have inconsistencies in retelling events, or their conversations seem scripted or rehearsed. You can't speak to them alone. They live in poor living conditions or in cramped small spaces. They are unpaid or paid very little, and they have a change in appearance. Behavioral signs. The following behavioral signs may be indicators that a young person is being commercially exploited. They show signs of fear, depression, paranoia, or anxiety. They discuss sexual situations that are not age appropriate. They use slang that is only used in the sex industry. They have a pimp or boyfriend that they refer to as family. They socialize or stay in hotels that are known for prostitution. They're repeat runaways. They're always in a company of older men or going on dates with older men. They have unexcused absences from school. They often have difficulty telling you their age or their year of birth due to their trafficker holding their identification. Miami-Dade has a full-time human trafficking unit and task force led by the state attorney's office. The human trafficking unit focuses on helping rescue victims and heal victims while at the same time and with equal vigor, successfully prosecuting their abusers. If you are a victim of human trafficking or suspect someone you know is a victim of human trafficking, immediately call 911. If you see something, say something. Contact your local law enforcement agency. You can also contact the Miami-Dade State Attorney's Office Human Trafficking Hotline at 305-FIX-STOP. That's 305-349-7867. Please see below for more important phone numbers where you can report suspected human trafficking.
In closing, I extend my deepest gratitude to each of you for your commitment to this cause. Your presence today signifies a shared determination to make a positive impact and contribute to the future where human trafficking is eradicated. Let us forge ahead with strength, unity, and an unwavering commitment to human rights. Thank you.